Hey, everybody.
Hey, Jim.
Hi, Jim.
Took me a minute to find the link.
Hey, Kyle.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Welcome to your first
Everybody.
meeting.
Thank you.
Jim.
Jim.
Took me a minute to find the link.
Hey, Kyle.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Some major echo there.
Welcome to your first meeting.
Thank you.
We're almost got
So weird echo.
Like I'm reliving the past.
it.
Oh, is that me? All right. Here, just a second.
Major echo.
Oh,
How's that? Let me stop sharing. All right. We all good now? When I went live on YouTube, it started playing in the background as well. All right, Danny. So whenever you're ready, we could get started.
yeah, sounds good. Let's go ahead and call this meeting to order and then start with the approval of the minutes from the last meeting.
And Kyle, you'll just abstain from this first part here since you weren't there for the last meeting. Anybody want to?
Anybody want to make a motion after we take a look?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you. A second?
Also,
Right. And then Matt, I don't have our agenda pulled up on my computer just yet. I can go find it. But what was
My
the
share?
next? Do what?
Do you see my share?
I can, yes. I was just gonna ask you if you would just like tell me what the next item was because I don't have it in front of
So
me.
it should be staff report.
Perfect. Staff report. That sounds great. Thanks.
Does everybody approve the minutes? Do a vote, Danny.
Oh yeah. All approved. Yes. Yes.
yes.
Show of
Aye.
hands. All opposed? No. Sounds good.
For the staff reports, I want to take a second here and do introductions for Allison and Kyle. So Allison, if you could just give since we didn't do it last meeting, could you just give a brief introduction of yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everybody. My name's Allison Tigliato. I'm sure you all know I'm the newbie here. I actually work with Damien as his assistant, so I've just decided to join the Parks Board to add into the community.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And Kyle, would you like to do the same?
Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity. Kyle Squires, lived in Smithville for 3 years. Been pretty proactive with the soccer program. Seen the opportunity to join this thanks to Brittany. Very excited about it and just really want to bring Parks and Rec to the forefront for the community and do what I can.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. All right. Next on the staff report was the haunted campground. So we had haunted campground on Saturday, October 3rd. It was a great turnout. We were expecting roughly around 1,500 to 2,000, which was kind of what we had in 2020. But we had a large amount of people, somewhere roughly around 4,000 people attended this event. So we were in between, we were definitely over 3,000. And I would say pretty close to 4,000 people attended. We were there, got there around 3:15 and cars started showing up, even though the event didn't start till 4. So we were moving along and keeping it going. So next year, we're going to be making sure we are expecting around 4,000 people because it's only going to get bigger from here. And we're super excited about the future of the haunted campground. In our last meeting, a few committee members asked about sponsorship revenue and how much we brought in this fiscal year. Our fiscal year is November 1 to November 1. So basically, we're getting ready to come to the end of the fiscal year here this week. To date, we have brought in about little over 11,000, almost $12,000. That includes new night sponsorships, athletic field banners, special events, and bike race sponsorships. This is something that I may bring up here in new business at the end of this meeting. But possibly give you guys a recap and an understanding of our sponsorship catalog. And next year we may look at setting kind of a goal for the community, reach out to local businesses, friends, families, anybody to be interested in helping out the Parks and Rec department in any capacity possible. So we got a few nicks and to fix in the sponsorship catalog. So hopefully by our next meeting in January, we can add this to the agenda and we'll do a presentation on what this looks like. The basketball court at Heritage Park, this is something that this committee has been working on since 2019, almost 2018. And so the basketball court is officially open at Heritage Park. It looks great. It's been highly used and it was super busy on those nice fall days. Fall sports are coming to an end. Soccer and t-ball concluded last week, and volleyball will be finishing up here soon. We've got a couple makeup games to finish up. Youth basketball registration closes at the end of this week, and practice will soon start after. And then park cameras was something that Jim, you brought up in new business last week. I don't have a great update yet. We're still looking into the best ways to keep our parks safe. Damien and myself are currently in contact with some different people to make sure we're making the best purchase. So hopefully we make some purchasing here soon. Brittany, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
No, not really. If you know anyone who wants to coach or participate in basketball, like Matt said, that registration deadline is this Sunday. We also have a couple things we did last year that we are going to offer again this winter. The candy cane hunt will be the outdoor candy cane. It's like an Easter egg hunt, but with candy canes and flashlights. We'll do that again in partnership with the Chamber of Commerce. We will do the holiday lights contest. I'll create a Google map with everyone who wants to participate in that. Add any houses who want to enter the contest, so you can go around and check out all the holiday decorations and vote for your favorite. This year, after feedback from last year when we did it, we had some people request having like prizes. So I will be seeking some sponsorships to donate gift cards or cash prizes to the winners of the holiday lights competition. And we're also going to do the stuff and fluff again. We actually have some left over from last year, but if you aren't aware of what that is, we were selling essentially Build-A-Bear kits. So you could pick between a polar bear or an eagle. It's like the shell of the stuffed animal, and that comes with a heart for the animal, a birth certificate, and then stuffing. And so kids could pick those up. With COVID last year, we did it as a purchase it and then pick it up and take it home. And this year I'm looking at the possibility of doing it in person at the senior center where kids can come and do it together, and maybe having hot cocoa or snacks or something with that. So those are coming up. Oh, and we have 2 dates for an adult. Well, it's 14 years and older. It's a pickleball clinic. It's going to be at the tennis courts at Smithsport Park. It's just $10 a person, and we have a clinic on, I think, November 13th, and then the 22nd, 21st, it's the Saturday, and then the following Sunday, a week later. And Kat Tomlin, she is a master pickleball player. She's certified through the National Pickleball Association to teach and to lead clinics, and she's won a lot of awards through competitions. So she will be leading that clinic. Again, that's coming up here soon. It is on our website and on Team Sideline to register. I think that's everything.
No, that was a great update. That definitely came up since I've done that. So it's just been a quick turnaround already for the winter sports coming up here. So
Will they be providing the equipment on that pickleball clinic?
She is going to bring some outdoor balls and pickleball paddles. It's recommended if you have your own to bring them, but she will have some to borrow.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
Hey, Matt, have we met since we did the webinar for Parks Association?
No, we have, since Brittany and I went to that meeting.
No, the webinar that we did, the three of us did, and then the meeting you guys had today too, if you want to update the crew on that. Our bike race webinar that we did in September.
Oh yes, okay, for MPRA. So yeah, We actually, yeah, I guess we didn't mention that in the last meeting, but no, that was September. So no, we hadn't. So Brittany, myself, and the mayor, we did a presentation for Missouri Parks and Recreation Conference. Their in-person conference was back in April, and we spoke about the bike race and the benefit it brings to a small community and what it could do for economic development and downtowns and to the community. And then they also did an online version for those who couldn't make the in-person one, and we just did that on September 9th. And we presented again, and we had such a great feedback, and people were super excited because it is kind of unique as a Parks and Rec department that we do it. A lot of it is done by bike shops and local, businesses that are in the bike world. So we're super excited to get the word out, and we've only making this bike race here in Smithfield larger each year. So it's a great event to put out there, and hopefully it makes Smithfield unique.
How'd the conference go today?
It was good. Yeah, it was on diversity, inclusion, and equity, making sure that our parks department is not getting behind in the trends that's only getting larger in the United States. So just keeping up with that and making sure that we have the resources available so when those opportunities come alive. So.
And I think one of my big takeaways that would involve you guys in the Board of Aldermen is we would like to add National Women in Sports Day to one of our proclamations, if possible. They talked about being more inclusive with those, and I think that's an easy way to start. They did talk about some things that might be a little more progressive, and we'd love to build up towards those, but starting with National Women in Sports Day seems like a natural fit.
Yeah, and for those of you that don't pay close attention to our demographics for the bike race, we try to get to over 30% women. I think we ended up with 35 or so percent on the bike race, which most of them are doing big media pushes to try and get more women in sport. We partner with some groups that are specific to women in gravel or women in cycling to build that up in our area.
All right, Dan, that's all I have for the staff report. All right, so next I had on the list was Diamond Crest Park Playground Design. Sorry about that, guys. Working from home life. So next on the list was the Diamond Crest Park Playground Design. So I have been working with AB Creative on the design for Diamond Crest Park Playground. AB Creative came out on site to assess the area, and take a look at the suggested community recommendations to create the design presented below. The current cost of the design is about $190,000. We have budgeted $275,000 budgeted for the construction of Diamond Crest Park, because we're also going to be looking at adding fencing, concrete walkways, lighting, and any miscellaneous amenities. With this price here and with the price of the secondary stuff buying, leaves us about $20,000 left. But that, with the miscellaneous amenities, whatever that could bring, whatever we got to change up when that time comes, would probably leave us just about on budget with this playground design. Some extra stuff that will have kind of attention on this design is so the surfacing, using the turf surfacing, the cost of that is around $120,000. So it's roughly almost it's the biggest part of this design is the turf, and that's kind of common with playground, is the surfacing is more than the actual playground equipment itself, because the playground equipment itself is about $60,000, and including installation of that playground equipment and the turf would be about $20,000. So you got $80,000 there, and the turf servicing is $120,000. So kind of what I'm looking at here is to kind of get your guys' feedback on this design, so I can take it back to AB Creative and change up anything that needs to be changed, any recommendations that you guys would like to bring. But I'll kind of go through the first picture here. So as you see is we have the turf surfacing that's around here, around the square foot of the whole thing, no mulch. Right in front of us, we have the inclusive swing. And then you have the swings in the background as well, because that was highly recommended that we have the swings as also some inclusivity within the playground. As we scroll down, you'll see the play structure for the 5 to 12-year-olds. This is something similar to Smith's Fork Park, and easy access, a lot of things to do, climbable parts of the slides, and then you have kind of the bottom that you could do some fun stuff with. Then we have the 2.5 to 5-year-old section. So we have a slide here, and then we have some turf mounds that have tunnels through them, as well as the rockers. On the turf as well, there'll be some kind of designs like hopscotch, and there'll be kind of some number snakes that'll kind of give that creative mind to still play there. So I'm open to hearing your guys's feedback. This is just a draft, so nothing is final. So let's take this time to really nail down what we think is important, what you guys like, and what you guys would like to see different.
Matt, I got a question.
Yes, Marv.
Would there be any kind of little benches for parents or us older grandparents to sit?
Yeah, so in those miscellaneous amenities, that'll be those benches, picnic tables,
Excellent.
in those areas like that.
Excellent. Thank you.
Does
Are you
that include
planning-
shade?
So when originally doing design, I know shade was something that we got on there. When we got when we put all of our recommendations into one pot, the price of the playground was around $120,000, if not a little bit more. So shade was kind of those first things that we took off the list because it's something that we could add later on. But we tried to, when we were doing looking at the playground, we were looking at, can we add some shade structure to the playground itself? So like above the slides and things like that, we'll have some cover. But over the whole playground, no, we don't.
Okay. Can you explain how the inclusive slide or swing works?
Yeah,
'Cause
so
I couldn't quite tell.
I couldn't. So when we first looked at this, and we got some boards if we had to do some public comment, and what it looks like is there's seats inside of this where they will be able to roll their wheelchair up to it and then get out and actually sit and then be able to strap down, and then someone can swing from the outside using the handles.
So does it go like left and right or back and forth?
Back and forth.
Okay,
Yeah. So in between the two blue posts, is that where?
gotcha. I like the idea that the turf will have things on it so that it is also play space besides just running space. Like
Yeah.
that helps with the painfulness of the cost for the ground. So that's nice.
So, Matt, can you get the cost of the shade structure? And maybe that's one of the things we could look at for fundraising eventually as well.
Yeah, and just for cost perspective, I know the two shade structures that were out at the splash pad out there, the two single Cavaliers, they were about total, they were about $12,000 with installation. Installation of the shade structure added another like 10,000 on there. So it would be something to take in effect. So we budgeted about 20,000 for those two shade structures at the splash pad. And we saved 10,000 by installing those in-house. Obviously, something to cover this playground or certain amenities out here would be a much larger cost. But I can get that for you and pass that along to you guys.
Well, and I'm not even sure it needs shade like over the whole thing, but I know like at the splash pad, like it's super nice for parents sitting, like to have some shade or shade just for kids to get under. Like they're going to be playing out in the sun. Like we'll do that at any playground, but having some shade to get under just for like some relief is nice. So.
Okay, well, I'll look at that and possibly look at kind of design, because obviously we'll have benches of picnic tables surrounding this, and maybe we look at covering those and maybe like some corners of the playground.
How far away from because isn't the developer building a shelter as well?
Yes.
So how far from the shelter will this be?
These will be, so the playground is going to be on the north side, and
Okay.
the shelter will be on the south side, with the
So the
splash
splash
pad.
pad.
The splash pad would be right in the middle, and we
Okay.
plan to have kind of a concrete walkway, kind of a square, where you'd be able to go like basically straight to each other. Because once we have the park together, we probably plan to take away the fence that's around the splash pads, so it'll be almost like a whole open park kind of feel, and you'll be able to kind
Kind
of
of like
run
Dag
back.
Park down in North Kansas City.
Exactly. So it'll be almost a whole, obviously the whole park will be fenced, and then the inside of that, you'll be able to kind of run free from playground to splash pad to shelter, from north to south.
That's cool.
Looks
Yeah, and
like
if we did any,
I'm
go ahead, Jim.
looking at the layout on my other screen here, and it looks like right in between the splash pad and the playground might be a good place to have benches and even just a smaller shade structure for people who are going to sit and, observe their kids playing on one or the other.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say we're on the west side where it blocks the sun in the evening. I know the splash park, we have some trees on the east side, and the splash park gets used a lot during the day. We kind of get some shade on those benches, but
Yeah.
the west side towards the parking lot, I think, is about all we
the
really
west side-
need. We don't need a lot more than that.
Yeah, like the west side of the parking lot would be a great, and I also still will be looking into doing that the walk-in kind of musical walkway arch that you guys presented last time. So we'll look at that to possibly, because that'll still be doable. It just is not the playground company didn't do anything kind of similar to that. So possibly something we could look at still. So
Cool.
which will provide
Be
some
good.
shade in that area.
Yeah, it'd be a good community service project too, to help with adding to that sensory.
Yeah. Yeah. And Brittany also asked, under these play structures, obviously they have those like kind of like the musical tic-tac-toe type things, braille, all that stuff. So I talked with the playground design, and they said they could do almost anything that, something that we look at for like musical or touch, feel, hear, sound in those areas.
Yeah, I was hoping to add either braille activities, or they have different boards with sign language, just very basic sign language, so kids can communicate with each other if they need to.
That's cool.
Looks good.
I'm just happy we have a funding source to be able to do this kind of stuff.
Nothing.
Other than that,
Hey, Matt, I see one of the mounds is kind of like a tunnel. Is it going to be high enough that like kids can go through the middle of it? I
Sure.
assume it is.
Yeah. And I would
Okay.
assume it is as well. And that's kind of what they mentioned was a mound/tunnel. So
Cool.
no, I am too. I think I think we got to set the standard on this as far as servicing. The turf or the mulch is not, a favorite around the community. So I think, like we said, when we were first looking at design and recommendations, that we didn't even want to deal with mulch. It's getting that turf out there or other, hard surfacing. So, I mean, this turf is going to make a lot of people happy.
And what kind of maintenance does that require, Matt, on an ongoing basis?
Yeah, so we have the turf underneath the slide at Heritage Park, and the maintenance is very low standard because it's not like your typical sports field turf. So there's not a bunch of rubber in there.
Mhm.
I'm sure they will give us kind of a training on what that looks like, but doesn't take a lot of fluffing or anything like that. And if it is repair, they kind of just come in with square patches and kind of repair it with, green servicing. So hopefully no one vandalizes it.
Right.
It's a little
And I-
tough.
that's why that's why we're gonna put in cameras.
I was
So
gonna say-
I'm going to ask this question, and this might sound dumb, but when you've got little ones that go to the playground, it makes a difference. I never realized until very recently that none of the slides in Smithville face the sun in the morning, so they're all wet until like 1. And some of them with like puddles at the bottom. But I don't know orientation wise, like like how it's all going to like be situated and what direction it's going to be facing. But
Yeah.
I'm sure it's something no one has ever thought of before, and it may not even be important to most people, but it's just the thought that like if the base of the slide could face the sun in the morning, it would be dry earlier, which would just be nice for moms with
Yeah,
kids
I'll,
with wet bridges.
Yeah, I'm sure the playground company has definitely seen it all, so I can definitely talk to them about that and see if that's something they take into consideration.
I'm pretty sure that every metal slide ever when I was a kid faced the sun because it was always
Right.
a million degrees.
Exactly. And that's probably why none of them face the sun now.
Even though they're plastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know this, I know we talked about outdoor theme and situations like that. Something we can still, keep into effect in future playgrounds, just as we work more, they definitely cost more. And so it'd be something, if that's something we want to look at, continue to, we still can, but cost would be a factor, and servicing may have to, it's kind of give or take on servicing in some areas, but I think as we get into these next couple playgrounds that will be updating, especially like Emerald Ridge and things like that, as we get those grants, that'll help move some of this around. But timeline on this just didn't fully work out on grants.
Yeah, I think for this one, I think this situation, this one design is fine. And you're right, we can look at that on future ones, but adding that walkway in the shelter house and making sure those kind of fit the design. I mean, this one's next to some, modernish houses and a clubhouse, so it's okay.
Yeah, the splash.
We did
pad,
something.
Yeah.
not designed that way, and
Yeah.
Even
I mean,
with Emerald
the only
Ridge-
thing that you might think as far as theme is just like not matching the color, but maybe getting the color scheme of the playground to go more with what is over at the splash pad with like the red and yellow kind of thing, just so it's like all cohesive. But I think theme wise, like I don't think it needs anything. I think it looks great.
Yeah, if we did a playground at Lake Ramette where somebody's taking pictures recently, we need to make sure that stays natural looking. We don't want a big metal structure in there.
Yeah.
But
Much appreciated.
All right. This is not fully over yet because I still would like to get some feedback from the surrounding neighborhoods there. So I'll be working with staff myself, and as well as City Hall staff, to figure out the best way to get some public comment on this from those surrounding neighborhoods. So if everything goes well, I hope we give you guys an update through email, and hopefully this can be purchased here at the end of November, and we can hopefully, with supply and demand these days, it's taking a lot longer, so hopefully we can get on the ball and have this ready to go to break ground hopefully this spring on the playground.
so
would you like the number of things in the air in this playground accommodate the amount of kids we're seeing in the area and everything, like at the splash pad and all that?
Yeah, I think so. This is a pretty good size area as square foot
It
wise.
looks like it, yeah.
So
this summer I don't think I drove by the splash pad once, even when it was almost dark, that I didn't see kids there.
yeah,
So this will get used.
yeah. So
For
it
sure.
was, we saw a lot of people in the community were looking for it and got out there. I know Kyle was out there a few times with his family. So it'll be, once this park is made, it's going to be a great spot. It's going to be our first park north of, Smithville. Our farthest park north is Smith's Fork Park. That's actually developed. So this would be a great piece for a lot of our community members in Smithville live north. So it'd be good to make sure they got a playground to go to.
Yeah, other than Emerald Ridge, all of our parks are accessible from Main Street, since even Smith's Fork is off of Main Street. Emerald Ridge, for those of you who don't know, is down behind Victory Chevrolet, which is our next one on the list.
Yeah. All right. Well, I will take this back and relay the information you guys mentioned to AB Creative, and as well work on getting some community response here on this as well, and get back to you guys here hopefully by the end of November.
Sounds great.
So the next thing would be new business, Danny, and I have a few things.
Okay.
So next is new business. As I talked about in my staff report, I'd like to possibly present the sponsorship catalog to you guys. And with that, we probably come out with some goals with that. So I'd just be looking forward to that. The next thing, kind of the biggest item, as with our master plan that comes together, is fundraising for those big park projects that'll be coming up here in 5-6 years. So myself, Brittany, the assistant city administrator, Anna, and Cynthia as well, we're working to make sure the legacy fund, everything is up to date and that we are in good standing. We have a few things to hash out before we meet with that board, because it's a completely different board. But them being separate, we're going to work on meeting with them here early December to help get them ready to go. We're hoping to do a joint meeting with them and this committee in January. And basically what we're going to come to you guys in January with is kind of the goals and expectations of the legacy fund and what their role is going to be in our future of making sure we can meet those project goals in those 5 to 6 years. Because as we said, the Parks and Rec sales tax is only going to be a fourth of the funding to really get those projects off the ground. So basically, in those meetings, we'll talk about those goals and expectations, and hopefully you guys as this committee and the Legacy Fund board can come together and start brainstorming, getting some of these events and ideas off the ground to get ready for those 5 to 6 year plans. Because this will definitely have to be coming from you guys and getting this together, and staff will be there to support and get that going. Mayor, do you have anything else on this? I know you talked about this recently.
Yeah, does anybody, so Matt, during that joint meeting, I want to make sure now that the budget's approved, it's loaded, like you mentioned, it starts November 1st. Just a quick, if anybody didn't review the minutes from the last meeting, we had that slide in there. $10 million is not a small amount of money. And we'll have this conversation in the joint board meeting. We are going to have to set some hard goals. And if we don't hit those goals in year 2, year 3, we have to start dropping stuff off that's going to be done in year 9 and 10. We have to get to a point where we are bringing in sponsorships. If you're, I know Todd's not here tonight, but if your passion is rec, and it sounded like Kyle's is, if your passion is rec, yeah, it's great that you want to coach kids and you want kids to show up to sports, but those fences need to be covered with sponsor banners. We need commitments to our fields to, Kearney and Liberty and everywhere else around here. You look, those fields have names on them. Liberty just did a deal with one of the banks, right, Matt? Central Bank. Yeah, Central Bank did the naming rights for the new soccer fields going in down the street. You can have a passion rec and not in the parks, but you still have to fundraise, because the money to build those facilities at Smith's Fork are expensive. I can do a community garden for a lot less than I can do a baseball field, right? Those are the discussions that we're going to have to start having in the hard, conversations. This is our funding. If you look at this slide, Matt just pulled up, appreciate that, Matt. 150 next year for Emerald Ridge, 150 for shelter houses and signage. Those are our funded items that we can definitely afford. Everything else we got to pull together from matching funds, either through grants or endowments or just donations.
Yeah, so basically what, kind of in that new business, and when we start talking those joint meetings, is definitely come with some ideas on how you guys best think to start building the support of the community and meeting those goals to get those projects going in year 5 and 6. So continue to reach out and start getting people on our side. Because I think these are going to be great additions, and how we look at those concept plans for the parks is going to be key for the longevity of Smithville in our parks and recreation.
Matt, what's our first big ticket item that we have to pay for? Baseball fields at Smith Fork?
Yes, so it'll be bringing those fields together out at Smith Fork, and once that's completed, then we go to the start of Heritage Park and making that into that community event space.
And I would recommend Allison and Kyle, since you're new and maybe aren't up to speed with the master plan, taking a few minutes to look at the master plan link on our website and just familiarizing yourself with what we've done so far and like what the next steps are over the next 10-year plan.
Sounds great. I've kind of skimmed it over a little bit, but not enough to I could read every word for word.
Understand. It's a big document, but it's definitely going to be important to have that as we move forward.
One of the most important things to remember when you're looking at that document, it wasn't just put together by our board or the Board of Aldermen. We had 1,000 survey responses, which I think our goal is 250, Matt?
Yeah,
it's normally on a survey. 1,000 people said this is what they want Smithville to look like in the next 10 years. We don't have to personally agree with that, but that's what we have to deliver. That's what the community wants. That's what the sales tax was passed to fund. That's what we have to deliver.
Does anybody else have any new business? All right. That's all I had, Danny. Oh, I guess one more thing. Also, we'll be looking at doing voting for chair and vice chair here soon. If not, we're still looking at meeting with the clerk, city clerk, on when the best time would be to do that. But we haven't voted on that in almost 2 years because of COVID. Kind of got in the middle of that. So if you are interested in being chair or vice chair, we can talk then, or Danny can keep it. So, but we look for that just because we need to kind of keep updated on that and make sure we don't keep track of that. So,
yeah, my thoughts on that is I hope we can be in person in the spring, and terms are up in the end of April, so we can look at it at that time once we move the alderman seat. I know Marv is up for re-election too, but we usually move the alderman every year to the different committees. But I think most of them have served for at least one go round. But yeah, I think that May meeting would probably be the best one to look at that. But we might need to do a vice chair prior to that, possibly.
Yeah, and Alderman Atkins, well, we were talking right before we started this, and he just came on a tour with us not too long ago and got to look at all the parks. And I know I've been working with Kyle to set up a date with that as well. But as any of you would like to join the tour and get together and kind of understand everything we do day to day, feel free to reach out and we can set that time up.
Sounds great. Hey, Damien, do you know, I'm sure you do know, when the end of this next term for me is?
April, end of April.
Is it April? That's what I thought.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and this would be 4 years in, so I typically asked to take.
And then
what's that? Yeah,
it was a 1 year, and then there was another set, but I couldn't remember how long the second one was. So.
Yeah, and typically I try to get somebody at least to have a year off because it is a lot of commitment and time. And then, if you want to reapply after that, great, awesome. And if nobody else wants to apply and you want to stick around, that's an option too. So we'll cross that bridge in a couple months.
All right. Anyone have anything else? All right. Would anyone like to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right. And all four?
Need a second.
I'll second it.
Sorry. I was like, mentally, I did it. Thank you. All right. And then all approved. Let's go. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out tonight. Allison, it was nice to meet you. I haven't actually met you yet. And Kyle,
it was nice to meet you too.